44 out of 45 people will ignore this and regret it, and the irony is, the information was never hidden. It was right in front of them, accessible, clear, and available to anyone willing to pause, think, and act. But that's the challenge, isn't it? Most people don't pause, they react, they follow noise, they chase what's trending, not what's transformational. And that single difference is what separates those who build wealth from those who watch it happen to others. Right now, the world is moving toward a massive shift in technology, in markets, in how value is created and multiplied. Yet most people are still operating with an outdated mindset. They look at the future through the lens of the past. They underestimate exponential change because it doesn't fit into the linear patterns they've been trained to believe. And that's why 44 out of 45 will miss this moment completely. They won't see the curve until it has already gone vertical. The people who win are the ones who understand that transformative opportunities rarely come with flashing lights. They don't look obvious, they look risky, unconventional, uncomfortably early, but being early is a feature, not a flaw. It gives you time to learn, time to accumulate, time to prepare. Those who wait for certainty always arrive too late. By the time the headlines start shouting, the real upside is gone. Look at every major innovation cycle in history. Whether it was the internet, smartphones, or electric vehicles, the vast majority doubted, hesitated, and dismissed the early signals. They chose comfort over curiosity. Meanwhile, a small minority leaned in, studied the data, looked past the fear, and recognized that disruption is not a threat, it's an invitation. And that invitation is being extended again right now. The difference today is the speed. Innovation is compounding on top of innovation. AI, robotics, energy storage, genomics, blockchain, these aren't isolated breakthroughs. They're converging. They're accelerating each other. They're rewriting how industries function and how wealth will be distributed in the next decade. And yet, most people are distracted by short-term noise, daily market swings, cheap hype, shallow predictions. They miss the bigger picture because they're too busy reacting to the smaller one. The ones who won't regret this are the ones who understand that long-term value is built on research, conviction, and patience. They don't ask what will happen tomorrow. They ask, what will the world look like 5 years from now, and how do I position myself today? They know that volatility is not the enemy, emotional decisions are. They know that the future belongs to those who can separate signal from noise, and make no mistake, the signal is loud right now. Data is telling us where the world is heading, capital is shifting, technology is doubling in capability faster than institutions can adapt. New economic leaders are emerging while old systems are breaking. This isn't speculation, it's observable, it's measurable, it's happening whether someone chooses to see it or not. But the sad truth is, most people won't see it. They'll scroll past it, ignore it, dismiss it, and years from now, they'll look back and realize they were standing at the edge of the greatest wealth transfer of their lifetime, and didn't step forward. You're here, you're paying attention, and that alone already puts you ahead of the 44 who won't. What you do next determines whether you join the minority who seize the moment or the majority who regret missing it. The choice is yours, and the window is still open for now. Warning, only 1 in 45 will understand this message, not because it's complicated, but because true breakthroughs rarely make sense to the majority when they're happening. People are conditioned to trust what feels familiar, what feels safe, what aligns with how the world used to work. But the world isn't operating on yesterday's logic anymore. It's shifting faster than most can comprehend, and that's exactly why so many will miss what's unfolding right in front of them. We're living through an era where exponential technology aren't just advancing, they're converging. Artificial intelligence is amplifying robotics. Robotics is reshaping manufacturing. Energy storage is accelerating renewable adoption. Genomics is transforming healthcare in ways that will look obvious in hindsight but feel uncomfortable right now. And blockchain is redefining trust, ownership, and the very architecture of financial systems. These aren't theories, these are measurable trajectories supported by data, research, and real-world applications. Yet most people will underestimate them simply because exponential growth does not feel Intuitive, only 1 in 45 will understand that the biggest opportunities don't announce themselves. They whisper through early adoption curves, through cost declines, through the kind of market signals most people ignore because they're too focused on short-term noise. They watch daily price movements and mistake volatility for danger, when in reality volatility is the birthplace of transformation. The few who win aren't the ones who avoid volatility. They're the ones who learn to interpret it. The truth is, most people will continue making decisions based on fear rather than insight. They'll listen to the loudest opinions instead of the most accurate data. They'll follow the majority because it feels safer, even though the majority historically gets it wrong at critical turning points. Think about the internet era, the smartphone revolution, the rise of electric vehicles. Every time the pattern repeated: denial, doubt, ridicule, then sudden acceptance once the value became undeniable. Those who understood early didn't just participate in the shift, they shaped it. Understanding this message means stepping outside of the comfort zone built by old rules. It means recognizing that the frameworks we used decades ago cannot explain today's pace of innovation. It means acknowledging that incremental thinking cannot keep up with exponential reality. The world isn't becoming slightly different, it's becoming fundamentally different, and that difference rewards those who prepare rather than those who react. But preparation requires something rare: long-term conviction. Anyone can claim to believe in the future. Very few can withstand the uncertainty that comes before it materializes. The 1 in 45 understand that conviction is not blind optimism, it's informed confidence supported by research, historical patterns, and technological inevitability. They know that temporary setbacks don't invalidate long-term trends. They know that markets often lag behind innovation before eventually catching up in powerful, disruptive ways. Understanding this message means you see the bigger picture: cost declines driving accessibility, scalability transforming industries, and innovation creating entirely new economic frontiers. While most are distracted by cycles, you focus on trajectories. While others chase hype, you study fundamentals. While they fear disruption, you recognize it as the greatest generator of opportunity in our lifetime. Only a tiny fraction will have the courage to think this way. The rest will look back years from now and wonder how they missed something so obvious in hindsight. But hindsight is the luxury of those who didn't act, and foresight is the responsibility of those who do. If you understand this message, truly understand it, then you're already ahead of 44 others who won't. You're part of the minority that sees through the noise, that embraces the future while others cling to the past, and those who can see the future clearly before it becomes undeniable are the ones who shape it. The harsh truth: 44 of you will miss this opportunity, not because you're incapable, not because the door is closed, but because the mindset required to see what's coming is rare. Most people underestimate change until it overwhelms them. They cling to what feels familiar, even when the familiar is quietly eroding beneath their feet. And that's exactly how opportunities slip by unnoticed. Right now, we are standing in one of the most consequential periods in economic and technological history. Entire industries are being rewritten. Traditional models are collapsing under the weight of innovation cycles that move faster than institutions can adapt. Yet despite all this, the majority are still operating with a linear perspective. They expect tomorrow to look like today with slight improvements. But the world isn't evolving linearly anymore, it's evolving exponentially. The harsh truth is that most people will fail to recognize this shift because exponential growth doesn't feel real until it's unavoidable. That's how disruption works. It looks insignificant early on. It looks like a toy, an experiment, a niche concept, but underneath the surface, cost curves are falling, adoption curves are steepening, and capabilities are compounding in ways that defy traditional expectations. Robotics, AI, energy storage, genomic sequencing, blockchain, each one is progressing on a trajectory that would have been unimaginable 2 decades ago. Together, their convergence is not just transformative, it's inevitable, yet many will miss it. Why? Because they are trained to trust the past more than the future. They rely on outdated assumptions. That stability equals safety, that volatility is dangerous, that innovation is risky. They forget that every breakthrough in history looked risky before it became the standard. The early internet was dismissed, electric vehicles were mocked, smartphones were labeled unnecessary, and every time the majority watched the minority capitalize. Because the minority was paying attention to data, not doubt, to seize opportunities like the one emerging now, you need more than interest, you need conviction grounded in research. You need the willingness to lean into long-term trends rather than chase short-term comfort. You need to understand that real opportunity rarely appears convenient or obvious. It requires patience, discipline, and a mindset that can handle temporary uncertainty in exchange for exponential upside. Those who won't miss this opportunity are the ones who understand the power of deflationary technologies. They know that as costs fall and accessibility rises, entire industries unlock new demand curves. They understand that innovation doesn't just replace old systems, it democratizes access, shifts capital, and redistributes value. They see volatility not as a threat but as a signal. They don't panic when the market trembles, they analyze what the tremors reveal about the future. The harsh truth is simple. 44 out of 45 people will continue looking at the world the way it used to work, not the way it's about to work. They'll dismiss early data because it doesn't match their expectations. They'll chase trends instead of understanding them. They'll confuse noise with insight, and by the time the transformation becomes obvious, the greatest opportunities will have already transitioned from potential to hindsight. But the one who doesn't miss this, that person understands that breakthrough moments reward those who recognize the pattern before the masses catch on. They understand that disruption creates windows, short, rare, and incredibly powerful windows where you can position yourself ahead of entire industries, ahead of economic shifts, ahead of the curve. This opportunity is real. It's measurable. It's supported by data, declining costs, rising adoption, and undeniable technological convergence. The question isn't whether it's happening, the question is whether you will see it in time. One of you will, 44 won't. And that difference will define the next decade. Every single one of you, if you miss this, you're in the 44. Watch this now, because what I'm about to tell you is not just a prediction, it's a pattern. A pattern that has repeated itself for decades, across every major technological and economic breakthrough in history, and every single time the majority, the 44, ignored it, doubted it, or dismissed it until it was too late. Meanwhile, the tiny minority who paid attention early didn't just benefit. They transformed their entire financial trajectory. Right now, we are on the edge of another seismic shift, the kind of shift that doesn't simply improve industries, it reshapes them entirely. And while most people are glued to short-term volatility, daily news cycles, and emotional headlines, the real story is happening beneath the surface. It's unfolding in adoption curves, cost declines, technological convergence, and market structures that are being rewritten faster than traditional systems can respond. If you miss this, you fall into the 44, the group that looks back years from now and says, I didn't understand how big this would become. But you don't have to be in that group. All you need is the willingness to step outside the old frameworks and see the world the way it's actually evolving, not the way it used to operate. Look at what's happening. AI is scaling at a rate that dwarfs every previous technological revolution. Robotics is moving from controlled factory settings to real-world environments. Renewable energy and energy storage are reaching cost levels that will render legacy systems obsolete. Genomic sequencing costs are collapsing, opening the door to precision medicine and therapies once considered impossible. Blockchain is restructuring trust and financial coordination in ways traditional institutions are struggling to keep up with. None of this is speculative, it's data-driven, measurable, and already underway. But here's the problem. People don't recognize exponential growth until it's impossible to ignore. That's why they miss it. Early on, it looks small. It looks slow. It looks like something that doesn't matter. But exponential curves don't stay small. They accelerate, converge, and suddenly redefine entire markets. When that moment arrives, the 44 scramble to catch up, but by then the greatest opportunities have already passed to those who quietly positioned themselves ahead of the curve. The ones who won't miss this are the people who focus on long-term trajectories rather than short-term noise. They understand that volatility is not the enemy misinterpretation is. They know that when innovation collides with declining costs, technologies don't grow linearly, they explode. They don't chase trends, they study patterns. They don't panic during market corrections. They use them to accumulate positions in world-changing ideas. If you miss this, you align yourself with the majority who place more trust in comfort than in data, more belief in old models than in emerging realities. But if you truly see it, you step into the mindset of the forward thinker, the early adopter, the one who separates signal from noise. The world is not slowly changing, it is rapidly re-architecting itself around technology that grow exponentially. The companies, industries, and investors who understand this will stand at the forefront of the next era of wealth creation. The ones who ignore it will find themselves looking back, wondering how they didn't notice what was happening right in front of them. You're here. Right now, you're listening. That already puts you ahead of most. The question is whether you'll act on it or scroll past like the 44 who will watch the future unfold without positioning themselves for it. This moment is not just an opportunity, it's a dividing line. You can stand on the side that recognizes the shift, or the side that realizes it only after the window has closed. If you miss this, you're in the 44. But if you don't, if you understand the magnitude of what's coming, then you're already stepping into the one who sees opportunity before the world catches up.